become third largest economy, uh, huge now. And MSMEs have been the biggest contributors to this. But ironically, they are the most credit-deprived segment as well in the economy. And last time when I was just reading the numbers, around 300 billion US dollars. So there are efforts underway by government, by organizations like ONDC to sort of bridge this gap. ONDC, we believe that digitization as well as the standardization of digital infrastructure would be the key to drive the seamless distribution of credit, loan facilitization, and as well as unlocking opportunities for MSMEs, like data dump MSMEs using some analytic data. So with that, I'll probably move to our panel to go deeper into various challenges and the opportunities ahead. So I'll start with Arindam. So Arindam, DMI is investing heavily in digital lending products. DMI also went live on ONDC for consumer credit earlier this year. So would like to understand like various key technological advancements you have seen over the past few years in the lending business.
Thank you, Rich. Helping us create reasonable growth because in terms of last few years, as a digital lending institution which uses certain methodology and ecosystem to further our programs to offer loans to customers, we felt at loss when, or we rather, we feel at loss if there is no way for us to onboard the customer digitally, know about him, what can various means and methodologies to underwrite, because they do not want to go and meet him, look at his papers, wait for 5 days for him to collect documents from his banks, and then do the personal discussion over the next another 1 week and then give the loan. So that was how HDFC 1.0 was operating. In fact, that was a challenge. It is one of the best way to do it. So thanks to various public and private digital infrastructure which has been created over the last 10 years, the numbers now are stunning. It is nobody could have imagined when UIDAI has set up the entire base. Today, if I were to tell you that India is doing about close to 30 crores to 45 crores in KYC on a monthly basis. I could not be so I was saying that 10 is less, 0 is more. Are we reading it right? It's staggering. Similarly, the numbers and why was KYC? Look at national information, informatics, if you look at the state government, if you look at protein, various reasons. EVPs, transfers, APS, there are various reasons why we have these. So is there a way for anybody to publish that information, put it in a manner which can be available, and can use them later? So that's how we started about it. So when ONDC came into play, it was so happy that now there is a way to operate as a lender and help reach that MSME which players like BMI and digital lending players could not have done the way large banks and NBFCs are successfully built. They built on NBFC 1.0. So for us, it was moment of truth when ONDC was coming to various buyers, etc. Positioning the infrastructure. Of course, there's a long way to go from here. How we want to leverage and what kind of data we are seeing. As we know, there are various kind of fire apps associated with ONDC. I think the panelists will discuss. So we use certain basic things about data modeling. We use some basic information which we get as digital data, which is coming from various sources, direct and indirect, and of course, the basics of typical underwriting we use to further engagement process with our end borrowers, which are small and micro customers. People with turnovers of 30-40 lakhs, a few
Thank you so much, Arindam. Moving to Sunil, Sunil, like we just like discussed about like MSMEs being the most very segment. Like I know you're participating in various programs to address this challenge, and Kotak will go live in BTC for MSME product in the near future as well. So I would like to understand from you, like, what are the key challenges, like, why this segment is predictive crime, and how do you think we can solve this using infrastructure standardization, like on networks like ONDC?
I think it's a very long question, but I'll try and answer for the context about how we see things at Kotak and industry at large. Let's start from positive about how the space has changed in last 7, 8, 9 years. Probably after demonetization, we look at and then COVID happened. So I think there is a need which is now felt by every entity, and I think that's the attitude being a normal. And the entire industry also rallied around that whole shift, I would say. And to give credit to the government in terms of what Arindam talked about, actually, what the kind of digitization was happening, where you can almost like go and get a customer, you can device done. I think that's the path that we've already reached now. And I genuinely believe that it's a inflection point now for the industry to get into that small ticket, small micro you can. So not everything is that immediate, right? But I can clearly see that the all the more reason that ONDC might I just want to also give you the truth about how we read about the same ONDC team also got gems at the government price market. So primarily about who was supplying to ONDC. And that was the OPM platform. The kind of volumes we were able to do in terms of count of customers was phenomenal. Because as a large scale brand, we would never imagine to let a 10,000 rupee involved. Things like that. So the cost to operate itself is something. I genuinely feel like avoid is net the data stack should come and side the customer. And I think the challenge still remains about I would say on the entity side still remains about KYC and also for right like that's the part really important government is trying. I think once that goes by, then it's going to be KYC. Space.
If I can add to the point what Sunil was mentioning on the MSMEs and the problem that India as a country needs to solve is that there are an estimated 60 million SMEs, about 10-11% only have access to formal credit. We look at some of the other parameters of the total population. Only about the top 60, 70, 80 million, the estimates range, have access to formalized credit products. Then you look at some other data like income tax, about 6% of the population or 7% actually file, but only 3% pay. 3% of the population is paying. So the problem for the country is under-reporting of income in the non-salaried sector. And that's why MSME has always been challenged from a lender's perspective. Both the biggest lenders are sitting in the on the dais. That how do you determine income? And I think what needs to be solved is getting solved. And lots of things we need to come together. Whether it's bureau becoming more frequent, whether it's account aggregator system actually coming into place on the ground, whether it's ONDC's initiative, and or whether it's RBI's latest initiative which they have announced or will announce a unified lending interface in terms of helping figure out how to get in absence of income. Of course, the government will try and get the income reporting right. They have to get the tax collection. But outside of that, how do you get the transaction data in a formalized manner, in a consent-based architecture, and anything that can help get the industry towards that and in a very credible manner and hence from the source will help in manners to solve that problem.
So just a quick follow-up on that. So in that case, do you think like lenders can make use of some alternate data, like as a proxy, to gauge the income, daily income or farm data or something like that?
Wait for the lenders to answer that. I can, but I think lenders.
I would like to. No, doing a small talk, I think. So when we start looking at the gas, my gas, maybe gas. Then we figured out, okay, somebody can so much of gas. I think alternate data has to come at one place. Electricity, etc. I'm sure as we go along, we'll find a lot of use cases around some of these alternate data. And I should also agree that today the amount of usage we do around alternate data is not actually enough. You need to use more of alternate data.
Yeah, thank you so much. The prompt. So, alternate data and the classic data, there is always a debate and a discussion, healthy and sometimes not so healthy. Credit team, data science team, analytics team, business development, marketing, that which one is more useful, which one is giving signal. Our experience is that, and I know I quoted over here, that there is no uniform way or homogeneous way to lending. For example, it may be that when the tides are pretty high, when the economy is going at a certain pace, you may be able to depend upon certain amount of data and create surrogates and guess what is the actual income. But when the tide has changed, some of us like to go back to the basics and try to understand from a customer like myself that what exactly do you do, where do you generate it? Let me figure it out how to read that, but you have to tell me where do you generate it. For example, somebody is asking me a question that if I stay in a particular place or if I have a business like this, what is my electricity consumption? Now, what happens is the data signals become weak because typically any data practitioner knows you need a certain amount of data to build it. Second is the population in India, it is so dynamic. The through the door population and the so-called PSI changes very fast. And that creates challenges for the underwriting practices. Like in 6 months, the model which you had built, which used certain alternate data, suddenly is redundant and is giving you contradictory, output. You had modeled it basis A, estimation of loss, and in the actual it is showing up something else. What went wrong? And then we go back in the analysis. So what we realize at that point in time is that the alternate data, so-called alternate data, it is so widely distributed, heterogeneous, split, inconsistent that we are not able to then, take a call of the next customer and the next customer. So if there is a way for anybody to democratize through platforms like ONDC, pipes like account aggregator, all lenders over here and all fintech platforms will love it, right? There is nothing more, there is no more joy. Today, unfortunately, we are over indexing on the bureau, right? Because that is the only consistent place. And since many years, bureau came into play in 2006 and 7, all of us are over relying on it. And all our graduation and post graduation and PhDs have been written on that. Right? Unfortunately, we have not done enough on automation. So there is a lot of work which needs to be done on automation.
If I can just make a small additional point, see, India is so underpenetrated right now, and if you look at the I don't know whether I should call it alternate data, but the most powerful data besides the income and the bureau is banking transaction data, GST data, and payments data, payments and transaction data. And that is also not yet aggregated to the extent it started, but it's not to the level where the industry is saying, okay, it's not the same level as bureau. Hopefully, it will get there 2, 3, 5 years from now. And once that happens, the expansion will be meaningful enough that we need to actually worry about additional alternate data from a country's perspective at the next stage. There will be various lenders who will use more powerful alternate data, which is over and above this. I know that Arindam does and his company does, and they will create differentiation. But that's fine. That works very well for the company. For the country, I think if we get these three important data points, aggregate, standardize, and in a credible fashion, and lead to the expansion.
Yeah, thank you so much. Abhijit, so you are coming from a large bank with a long history in lending, right? So, and you must have witnessed transformation over the past few years. So, just wanted to know your thoughts, like how do you see ONDC influencing the traditional lending business? And let's say if a lender like yourself, a large bank, if they want to adapt to this change, like how can they do it?
So see, from the view that I'm looking at it, ONDC I think is on the right track. Started off with an intention to increase penetration of the e-commerce segment, and then has gradually now getting into other areas like finance and things like that. If you look at your role, and I hope this data is right, is that we do about 15 million, close to 12 to 15 million transactions monthly. We've got about 7 lakh sellers on the platform. 84% of them are actually small sellers. So it opens up a huge possibility for all of us. Almost every product that or service that will be available will be cataloged. It creates a comprehensive network, for everybody to look at, and some of the conversation we had earlier. Last week, I think ONDC also ventured into financial services, which will be the first board under 6 minutes with 9 service providers and I think 3 lenders. So I think all in all, it's really on the right track for banks and ONDC. I think it's a win-win partnership from where I look at it. I think we've talked about that number being 60 billion or 100 billion. About 100 billion Indians are actually well served or served by banking, but there is a huge population which is underserved. So as ONDC starts to expand, I think it will have a trickle down effect on the economy, and it will formalize the economy much more. And these smaller players, who are not able to access credit earlier or not able to be looked at in a different manner, and we talked about alternative earlier, we should be able to get a wealth of transactional data which actually comes in on the platform. So many different types of transactions happening. I think and help the banks also, because we'll have two big changes coming in. We'll have a large number of very non-traditional distribution points, not just the branches. It's going to be apps. It's going to be small players. You can only imagine what you can do with it. And velocity at which the data will come will also make sure that our models, credit models that we use, they come to fruition much faster. The cycles are smaller. Because larger data, so it will lead to maturity of the credit model. So the way I'm seeing it, I started my career when we had every branch had its core banking system, so the customer can only use transactions in the branch. Then we implemented core banking solutions, so the customer can do only within the branch network. Then we put mobile app, yes, you can access from anywhere, but only in the branch network. But now with the construct that ONDC is bringing in, I can do banking from any app. I don't need to be sitting on my app, or I don't need to be sitting on a UPI app. As financial services, we can also promote our products on the other apps. So it's actually going to change the paradigm of financial services and availability of financial services. So I think beyond democratization of data, I think we will democratize banking services and financial services as well.
So, thank you so much, Abhijit. So now I'll move to fintechs. So Nilay, like EasyPay went live on ONDC like earlier this year. Like you started with consumer product, So just would like to know your thoughts on, various innovative opportunities that are presented to, fintech like yours, like small, big, when they participate on network like ONDC.
So thanks, Antriksh, and thank you everyone on the panel, and thank you everyone for coming and listening to us. But the way I like to describe ONDC, the right analogy that I think is it is like internet. In future, it will be everywhere, uh, visible or invisible. Everyone will be utilizing it. The way we think is, how will Generation Alpha take it? And there's no platform or network globally which is truly democratized, which combines commerce, financial services, even logistics, which will kind of complete the entire ecosystem of trade. And I see everything happening virtually because rails are laid down very promptly, rightly. I see those rails evolving, enhancing, improving, and will be an enchanting experience for all. So yeah, the first obvious thing that fintechs can do in partnership with banks or lenders is bring the data, the transactional data, trade data, finance data, the patterns, everything together, put it in a collage for the lenders to kind of fit into their ruling engines and kind of take the right decision on the floor. Other things that I see is probably creation of virtual credit cards, a platform that can help a large lender partner with a small lender who has better collection capabilities in underserved areas and kind of get the financial inclusion in place. Also, it would be right thing for the larger banks to kind of serve the PSL loans on the fly because that is one of the largest criteria that helps India grow to the level that India wants. So I can keep on going on about it, but in interest of time, I'm just
Um, Naveen, so again, like Paisabazaar also went live and you have like very short experience with ONDC. So we just wanted to understand. So in India, we have like significant regional disparity when it comes to credit penetration. Like certain regions, like southern and western, like Indo penetration compared to the others. So I'd like to know your thoughts, like if you want to bridge this gap, right? So how can we do it like with this sort of infrastructure standardization and of course with the ecosystem players like lenders and the other fintechs, how can we ensure that the credit is sort of more evenly distributed?
As we go more and more digital, one of the things that we've already seen over the last 10, 12 years, we saw that in e-commerce, 2009, 10 onwards, big brands which were only available in top 7, 10, 15 metros are now available in the entire country via e-commerce. And we started seeing that to a smaller extent in credit. We saw that in banking, traditional banking program. We see that in equity investment over the last 4, 5 years. That as the end-to-end process in lending's case, underwriting is an important part, and then collections becomes more and more digital. Will remove the need to have infrastructure, which is why the disparities get created in the past. Of course, besides the income inequality intelligence itself, I think the challenge or the what's happening is that on the data side and through efforts by whether it's a Kotak regulator, ONDC, the regulator, the acquisition part is getting digitalized, so that's a great step. I think what needs to happen is the collections part also needs to somehow get more digitalized. And when that happens, the cost of reaching out to the customer for giving the loan, but also from collections perspective, will become a fraction of what it is. The physical infra is required, and that's how things will start becoming more universal in India. So we are on the right path. It might take time. That's that.
Thank you so much, Naveen. I'll come to DMI Finance. So Arindam, like How do you see the role of ONDC evolving in the next like 5 years or so, like in terms of credit distribution?
That is an absolutely fun question. Let me talk about dreams a little bit. So, what is an ultimate lender's eye? Imagine today, if we break down entire lending into various parts, onboarding, KYC, underwriting, whatever, servicing, disbursals, collection, blah, blah, blah. These are broad blocks. But sub blocks, there are many things, like what we mentioned, collections, very, very important for all of us as a lender. But today, the collection is a big debate. At least 10 years back was centralized, decentralized, outsourcing, in-house. But at least all of us now are at least reached a consensus that nobody can create a collection infrastructure only in-house and depend upon it at scale. All of us eventually have to outsource, brain and a brawn one, right? There are certain things which are in-house, certain things can be easily outsourced. Outsourced to whom? BPOs, KPOs. But today, a large bank like HDFC, I don't know the number, but let me hazard a guess, maybe they will have more than 500 or 1,000 agencies. DMI, we have more than 100 collection agencies. Kotak, maybe, again, very large number. This has not happened in one day or 1 week or even 1 year. It has happened over many, many years. And I'm sure it will keep happening. There is a healthy number of agencies which are coming in, exit. Is there a way for somebody as a large KPO, BPO, captive, collection agency to form a part of their service in the ONDC? I see a large role being played by them. Similarly, let's say, for example, today, a lot of us deal with something like contact point verification or a tele verification service. Again, very disjointed, some are organized, but 95% is unorganized, done by various agencies. But a lot of lenders depend upon this data to decide whether to get the loan or not. Can it be brought to a platform, right? Like a reseller, the services are provided like resellers, aka how Amazon thinks about commerce. Is it possible for that organization to be part of ONDC and provide the service? Take a step towards secured lending, right? Which is the buzz of the market these days, and all of us are talking about it loudly. Whether it is plant and machinery, whether it is lab, home loan, a couple of other product lines, the services today are being broken, and a lot of them are built in-house and some are outsourced to certain parts. Is there a possibility for the technical or the valuation to happen through a service provider like ONDC, right? A large provider which covers pan and country across the breadth and land? Is it possible for a provider? I would say that it would be amazing if all of us get together and think about solving this issue in childhood, which have been around for the last 30 years. But I don't see in the last 6 months of searching for smart companies which are doing cutting edge in, let's say, a technical evaluation. I found a handful of them, and that too they are struggling because they are early startups. Maybe the VCs will sniff them out and they will, give them enough money to grow them. And all of us as lenders will need services for it. I think I would say that ONDC, maybe there is an opportunity to get them in one place. We may call them whatever, right? But how Amazon reimagined shopping experience, I would say ONDC has that position to all of us within the room, reimagine how all services can be part of it, not just lenders and customers and many.
Thank you so much, Arindam. I just wanted to cover like 4-5 questions, but since we only have like 5 minutes left, so I'll ask for this one question to Ebola, and this like super good question. What is one change in the regulatory environment which you would like to see in order to sort of replicate or rather, for growth of credit in the country? So maybe I'll start with Sunil.
One change, I did mention about the KYC for entities, but I would like to highlight one more which I think regulator and probably industry at large is getting impacted. How do you close the particular credit? Close looking and credit transaction is just to give you an Ola, they have a EV vehicle, find out at EV vehicle. If the repayment does not happen, locking it. Every lender works like last week. There is one is property of the house, other is not. It's a close loop the transaction, you're locked before. Because your ability to market dramatically. And I think that's the issue with this one, because it is voice finance. If you think about it, I think that you can genuinely multiply and
Listen, like,
I think there are many points, but quick, few points for us. I think accessing the information and figuring out the stability of person's income, the consistency. We today struggle with the dynamic population segment because we are talking about segments. We don't cater largely to segments which are 40 plus. We are catering to segments or customer cohorts which are between the age of 20 and 28, emerging, just about completed their school and graduation, and then coming into the formal economy. We are trying to address that. So there is a lot of instability, in the job market or employment, whether they are salaried or self-employed. So we would like to see a lot of work on that part, which will help us to see more stability.
listen, Naveen.
Three points. Firstly, data democratization, access to data for the industry. I think account aggregator is a start, and over a period of time, I believe they will have, besides the banking transaction data, they will have other financial data, whether it's GST, insurance, other investments. And somehow payment data also needs to come into that framework, which is accessible on a consent basis. Some of these things take time. I think that slows down the entire country. Account aggregator framework is more than 5 years, maybe 7 years. It's still not meaningful at the ground. It is now becoming meaningful. Needs to just happen faster. I think that's one wish. The second is I think capital access. Capital access continues to be fairly restricted, underdeveloped, where for lenders who are trying to expand to more financial inclusion, because it may not be part of the strategy for the banks for the right reason for them. They are dependent eventually on the banks. So eventually it's a still capital. Somehow it needs to be developed a little bit more for more capital coming. And thirdly, I think Europe, we talked about it, it's become an important part since 2012 and becoming more and more important. Continues to be once a month update. Now RBI has made a great progress by announcing that from January 1st, 2025, the frequency of update will go from days. I think it eventually needs to move online, and in 2024-25, it needs to get online faster. That will avoid minor or major accidents like loan stacking, etc., which will help the industry.
Yeah, I agree. I think real time reporting would be the key. There's Naveen.
So I think all the points are already taken up. So I'll answer it from the lens of the topic addressing India's credit gap. Most of us are not able to service everybody largely because of high customer acquisition cost and lack of processes. So I think given the work that we're doing currently, the biggest tactical thing that we can do is look at KYC. How can we help reduce the cost of customer acquisition? Second, I think more broader, longer term, how can we promote sufficient financial literacy amongst people? So automatically a lot of other problems will get sorted out.
Sure. Thanks, Abhijit. Nilay.
So I'll give a different paradigm. I would like to see, the regulator be open to a buffer where fintech partner can partner with a regulated entity and deliver services like the way we've seen in UK, for example, Revolut or Monzo is doing, or in Brazil, New is doing. They've shown phenomenal results, and that is something that would kind of give the access to the customers. I mean, that can bring on the customers that otherwise are kind of overlooked by regulated entities because of the lack of reach.
So thank you so much, Nilay. I think we are already out of time. So with that, I'll close.
One question we can go.
Do you feel that ONDC will play a very instrumental role in bridging or reducing the gender gap, especially when it comes to credit? And talking about women entrepreneurs in rural areas or semi-urban areas. It's not talking.
So I'll just quickly answer that. Definitely yes, because because of ONDC, there are multiple lenders who are actually encouraging the women entrepreneur drive, especially in the rural areas. And secondly, also the MSME ministry has come up with incentives to build those merchants or artisans onto ONDC, where there is an incentive for somebody to reach out to them and bring them onto the digital platform, which creates a digital footprint for lenders to kind of access them in terms of rate.
Well, okay, I'm making the question for now. Rest of time. So, talking about role of ULI by lending phase, which is very similar, addressing India's credit gap for informal or semi-formal work. What is the role of ULI? And is it competing, collaborating, or complementing ONDC?
I think I'll take this question. So like based on my understanding, so ULI is essentially like bouquet of APIs. So let's say if you're a lender and you want to venture into daily financing, so you basically need someone to get data in order to underwrite, right? So which is where they have basically created a layer using which you can access data from Amul, or let's say if you want to access farm data, then there are data providers like Absolute, right? So idea is like instead of integrating with each and every data provider, you can just go through that platform so that you'll have access to all the data in one go. So that is the fundamental idea. And on top of that, they probably got some APIs for KYC and all. Whereas the role of ONDC is here different. So here we are basically building the open network where lenders can participate and they can basically sell their digital products on the network. And same goes with the other part, like the other players on the different side of the spectrum, like fintechs, right? So let's say if they are a large player like Paisabazaar or even like a 5 startup, they all will have access to the same set of lenders, right? So what we are doing is we are basically aggregating the supply as well as the demand. So I think the roles are slightly different over here, and both the networks can work with each other. Yeah.
Now, while I do understand that we will have a lot of questions, but I would request our audience members to take up the questions in interest of time when they get the time to network. So please go ahead and go on.
Sure. I would like to thank our panel for participating today, and I think the discussion was truly super insightful. I mean, even I learned like about for this discussion. I'm sure attendees will share the same thoughts.
Ladies, level, please give a huge round of applause to the speakers. Arindam, Nilay, Sunil, Abhijit, and Naveen. I would request all of our panel members to kindly come forward for a group photo.